All right, today we're starting a search for a new project car, looking for something interesting, something fun to drive, something fun to fix up. Hopefully that doesn't require a huge amount of work. But basically, I like to fish on the bottom on Craigslist. In this case, I set up a search, something like this. I look for an owner vehicle. I put in an arbitrary 20 mile from my location, which can be a pretty good drive if it's toward the city. I put a $2,000 cap because that's I'm trying to find something that's going to be fun to drive that I can get into for right around $2,000 after all is said and done. An arbitrary model year starting at 2008, and you can see basically some cars pop up. It's a fair amount, although some of them are just by people who really don't know how to do ads. And you may want to set the lower limit a little higher than nothing, because you end up with things like this Mini Cooper that's actually, if you get to the bottom, $7,000. So I don't know why people do that, but at any rate, the goal here's a little different. I love the old show Wheeler Dealers, where they would have set a $2,000 or thereabouts or pound limit and see what they could buy and how they could fix it up and flip it. I'm going a little bit above and beyond that. I don't want to flip this car. I want to have something fun to drive. So my budget is for buying the car, getting it home, fixing it up, and making it nice to drive and reliable for the next, it's 50,000 miles. So a little different, So that makes it tough, but let's see what's out there. And so I keep my eyes on what's for sale in the area. Always looking for something that's too new and too cheap. And this one really fell into that category. A sub-$1,000 2013 Mini Cooper. With 168,000 miles on it. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Looks rough. It's filthy. It looks terrible. But wow, $950. This is one I gotta go see. Okay, so here it is. Not the most prepped car I've ever seen. It's got its warts. Nice dent across the hood. Little battle scar here and there. Interior is actually not horrible. Well, what I can see of it. Couple nice wounds in the back here. Those should pop right out. Typical Mini. Dirtier than most. There we go. We can fix the gear shift before we get started. Oh, kind of an odd noise. Okay, idling a little, maybe a little lumpy. Check engine light on, low fuel. Got some other indications that something's not quite right. Oh, is this a dirty car? Okay, sounds reasonably good. I've seen a lot worse. It's idling reasonably smooth. No signs of excessive blow-by from the dipstick tube. No obvious signs of crash damage on the front corners. And there's that missing trim ring and a couple other items. I can see the inspection ports are open. I think the covers are in there. Got some lumber at no extra charge. These struts are definitely way past it. There's nothing holding this up except my left arm. The needs a little trim love, obviously. And the headliner. Finding a bottle like that in the back seat's not the best indication in the world. Back's actually not looking too bad. No windows to test there. Okay, doing a quick run through, I'm finding just loads and loads error messages. Although the key thing here is I keep seeing the under voltage message. Now what that could indicate is that the main battery just got low to the point where it started throwing all kinds of codes that have nothing to do with anything. Interestingly, there's a lot of stuff that didn't air out. I'm going to take the unusual step of resetting the errors if it's okay with the owner. I'm rerunning the system scan. Okay. And interestingly, it's looking a lot better. Let's do a health report. And the mechanic who he was working with was telling him because of all the errors that the car was a parts car. Well, I would say offhand that we probably shouldn't be trying the sunroof. It's definitely toast. I never use the sunroof in a car that I own, and I would just pull the fuse to keep from having to listen to that, or have somebody, worse yet, have somebody accidentally set it off. And the big fault with this was clutch. His mechanic said that you might need to replace the transmission also. It's a funny feeling. Clutch. I'm in first gear, slowly releasing the third pedal. Not a thing happens. Okay, wheels look reasonably good. Front tires are fairly new Falcons. Back tires are pretty much worn out, but they'll hold there to get me home if it was drivable, which it's not. Okay, the oil is pretty close to full and looks very clean. Another good sign. Interestingly, it seems to have a a plug sealer rather than an oil fill cap. That's unusual. I wonder why that is. I don't know if there's a problem with the seat. It looks like the tube that it screws into should be fine, so I'm guessing they just lost it and that's what they could get their hands on. All right. Okay, can't really fit under it because it's a Mini, but it's not looking like any major damage here. The back looks pretty clean. Front, as these things go, looks reasonably good. Let's see if I can get up under the engine a little better. The oil pan looks a little dirty, but I mean nothing terrifically unusual there. The exhaust, as far as I can see, looks okay. The transmission housing itself looks pretty good. I know it's not, but I know it looks pretty good. Rear bumper is taking some fairly good shots. Clearly a respray is in order at the very least. This is also suffered accordingly, but that shouldn't be an expensive part. The exhaust looks good, as most Arizona cars do. Looks like the bushings on the rear shocks are a little bit cattywampus, but it's probably okay. Very simple, easy to work on systems here. I like that. Not too much rust on the hardware. I love that. And I'm not sure, but I'll bet they wondered where all that noise in the back came from when they were driving it. Okay, clearly there's been a little paint work of some sort done, just as well, because this front hood is just about toast. With the dent and the paint condition, I think the replacement would probably be the cheapest solution, although can't rule out a total respray, given that it shouldn't cost much on something this small. And windshield is in order. There's a couple pretty major cracks in this, but I can deal with that when I come to it. Missing trim. A little missing trim on the antenna as well. There should be a sheath over this of some sort. I'll tell you folks, clean it up, it's not going to look that bad. It's not going to look that good, but and this is the point in the project where you stop and you go, what have I done? A lot of work remains to be done on this little gem, but should be a fun project. And when I'm done, I'm hoping it's out of all proportion to the amount of money I've put into it. Cost me $120 to get it flatbedded home, but here it sits in my garage. Now this is one I haven't been able to drive. I couldn't get under it because obviously it's a Mini and it's way too low and my head's way too fat. So I'm going to be learning a lot about this that I wasn't able to check out. At the same time, paying under $1,000 for something like this is a fairly low risk maneuver because I know it's got a lot of good parts on it that would make for a great parts car, but we're going to try to save this one because I really love these cars and I think this is going to be a really fun addition to my fleet. So let's get started on it. Okay, she's in the air pretty high and lifted up. The first thing that greets me is you gotta wonder who does maintenance like this in the middle of a radiator hose instead of just replacing the whole thing. This is ridiculous. At any rate, there are signs of some leaking. It had clearly been in the shop for a leak. The previous owner had just replaced the water pump and the thermostat, so that's out of the way. I suspect that probably took care of the heating problems, although I suspect that might have had something to do with it. But all in all, I got to tell you, I mean, there's a little oil seepage on the pan, but I've seen a lot higher mileage or lower mileage cars that are newer than this that look a lot worse in terms of the oil leaking and the just general condition. From here on back, this car did spend some time in the frozen north before it moved to Arizona, but it looks clean. It looks really pretty good. But I tell you, it's looking pretty good back here. There's not really a lot of issues. Pretty clean. Very, very minimal rust. Don't know why there's wood stuck in the brake lines, but let's flip this around so you got up is up. Yeah, I think I bought a reasonably good condition vehicle other than that slight problem that it won't actually move under its own power. And I think I found the reason for the loose spare tire, probably because that's not the right nut for that. All right, the first fix. Found a nut washer combo that will fit on there, and no longer is the spare tire loose. So I fixed a rattle. Well, if it moved, it would rattle. Okay, it's a baby step and it's full. It's far, far from being totally clean, but this is so much better than it was, folks. Which isn't a tough standard to meet. Well, I just noticed that the seat belt on the passenger side is, well, there's this much of it. At least it won't set off the alarm for being unbuckled. And I don't know, I'm thinking maybe this might need to be replaced at some level. Oh, holy moly. That's pretty rough. Okay, idling in 6th gear. You can see we do have some tire movement. Now folks, don't do this unless you've already tried it, but you really can't do that with a car that's normally working. And a few minutes with a couple headlight specific products takes you from that to that. Not show car quality quite. Okay, so here's where we are, folks. A little bit later, parts are just falling out of the car. The subframe is on the ground. There's a giant hole where my transmission used to be. You can see it's sitting over here, and the axles are swung out of the way this way. Basically, I had to take the transmission out to be able to get the clutch. And what I found on the clutch was that they're supposed to be worn out whenever you get within a millimeter of these rivets here. So if you notice, the rivets are actually ground down, and every other one is missing altogether. See, this is you can see how this one's been ground off tremendously, and this one, and every other one is missing altogether. So this clutch is toast, and pretty much going to be the real issue that's keeping the car from moving. However, while I have the transmission out, I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and crack the case, take a look inside just to make sure there's no fatal flaws in there as well, because if I go to all the trouble of putting this thing back in and then find out there's another problem, I'm going to be a sad boy. Carefully lift off the top cover, and there we go. We now have access to the internals of our mini transmission. All right, and I'm liking what I'm seeing here, folks. Everything feels so far really, really nice. By the way, this is basically the differential here. This is an open differential, which is on the low performance models. This would be the point where you would pull this out and replace it with a limited slip differential if you're into that kind of thing. I'm not going to worry about that. What I want to do here is a couple things. One, I'm going to pull the magnet out. Now you see, this is all of the debris that has been attracted to this magnet, which is in the sump and the bottom part of the transmission for its entire life, most likely. And that is just not a whole lot of stuff to have built up in the course of 160,000 miles or whatever. So that makes me very happy. More importantly, I don't see chunks. I don't see shiny bits. I don't see pieces of gears. So I'm thinking this transmission's probably in great shape. I'm going to clean this off and reinsert it and then start looking deeper. That's cleaned up, so now it's ready to slide back into its slot. No problems with the gears, and we're actually ready to start putting this thing back together. We've done about everything we can do. All right, just wipe down around the edges of the case. There is no sealant on it. That tells me this has probably never been a part before. The other thing to check is the condition of these bearings, these roller bearings, for the input shaft, and also just look at the inside of the seals for the axles. And this is one that there's a bearing inside on one of the intermediate shafts that rides on this. Okay. So this is the stuff you need. Gear oil gasket maker at Primitex. It's basically an RTV specifically for, and you can see, differentials, but obviously also manual gearbox. And the next step is you want to run the bead. You want to run a decent sized bead around the inside of the screws. I've seen people run on the outside, and the problem with that is if there's a gap anywhere, the fluid will get around the unsealed section and run down the screw and out. So you don't really want that to happen. Give it some love taps with my dead blow hammer to start getting the two sections to mate. And since, like any time you remove the transmission, you really want to do a clutch job, I've got a new clutch, so I've also got a new throwout bearing that goes with the new clutch, because you never ever put in the old one if you've gone to the trouble of taking the transmission out. Okay, so the bearing goes on the top side, and you see these two little clips here.
that's what actually holds it in place on these two little tabs. So it's really just a matter of lining it up and pushing it home. That's all there is to it. Okay, the light's on. Okay, the clutch kit does come with a special grease. I'm going to use a special grease because why wouldn't you use a special grease? And the thing is, I'm going to use a little dab of it on this pivot point for the, let's see, did I get it open? There it is. So I'm going to push this down, which it's now seated there, and I should be able to push the tips of the spring clips up into position and where it's locked, and at that point you should be able to easily move this up and down, and it's pivoting on this little nub here, and it won't release. So okay, we're good to install as soon as we, of course, wait for this sealant to dry and torque it down. Go to the big guy. I'm going to do 27 foot-pounds, which is going to take a little more bracing. Okay, and the thing to notice is that we've got a nice consistent bead of sealant pretty much around the entire circumference, showing that we have indeed sealed the case and got it torqued down square and properly. So that's what you want to see, folks. Okay, now with the transmission out of the way and the clutch removed, you're down to the point where the rear main seal is under this cover. And folks, like I said, don't skip this step. If you're in this deep, go ahead and replace the rear main seal, because at this mileage particularly, you can see there's maybe a little sign of actual leakage here, but it's going to happen, and this is just preventive maintenance. It's going to save you a lot of work. Friends and neighbors, you can see that although this one really wasn't shedding much oil down here, you can see it was in the process of failing. It would have been just literally thousands of miles before you're getting the persistent drip, drip, drip out of the bottom. And we just avoided that by this little bit of extra effort and a few extra bucks. Okay, once again, using a quality part. This is not something you want to cheap out on. The quality parts really don't cost much. I'm going to use a bigger screwdriver. Hope we can break it loose. There we go. She's loose. And once you get it out, it's just a matter of walk around the circumference, pry it out. Okay, you can see the damage was done here. That doesn't matter. So note the way it goes in, flat side up, concave side back. Now we just need to clean up. Okay, I've put a very thin coat of oil around the interface edge here. Notice this thing comes with its own insertion tool, so it's ready to be placed. Just slot right around, and this little insertion tool will keep things lined up until the seal is actually started, at which point it can be removed. Okay, and try to keep it as square as possible while it's going in. That feels very good. We now have a new rear main seal. So all right, and get it seated down as well as you can, and go get the new bolts. Okay, the new bolts will cost a few bucks a piece. Money well spent, in my humble opinion. They look just like the old ones. They do come with blue Loctite, already pre-applied to the threads, which will save you a step. So now, just a matter of putting all 6 into place and torquing them down to spec. Okay, this is a 3-stage process. The first round, these get tightened to 6 foot-pounds or 72 inch-pounds. So for that, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch drive, very small torque wrench, because it has a much more solid report whenever it hits the desired torque. The next stage will be 22 foot-pounds, followed by a 90-degree additional rotation. So let's get started. Go ahead and crank down using a star pattern. Okay, next is the 22 foot-pound torquing. All right, now the next step is to rotate each of these a 1/4 turn, 90 degrees. There's a lot of ways to do this. Basically, I'm going to mark the points that are in the most appropriate position, and then I'll mark the landing spots for the points. So each of these points, and I'm marking the point just to keep it straight. It's not a precision marking, because the next one is the one that matters, and that is, since a bolt has 6 faces on it, turning it a 1/4 means turning it 1 face and 1/2 a face. So I'm going to mark right at the center of the flat beyond the marked section. So now I have a indicator and a destination mark for each bolt. And again, that's that should do it. Okay, now I just have to turn the top mark to the bottom mark on all 6 of those, and I'm done. But obviously, to do that, I've got to lock the flywheel into place. So I will do that now. Okay, being lazy, I have just inserted a screwdriver between this guide pin and the thermostat housing up there, and we'll start turning down the bolt, keeping a close eye on the rotation. And I think I'll probably take them about half the way there each, rather than tightening each one in sequence, because this will help distribute the load to make it as absolutely seamless as possible. So I will just go around the circumference once, and then come back and finish them off. Okay, we're all lined up, ready to go. Just detension that, take out the screwdriver, and we're ready to put the clutch in. Okay, I'm going to use just a tiny bit of this special lube that comes with the clutch kit on the splines. The disc should be labeled. In this case, you can see it says freewheel side, so that's really important. You will have undoubtedly purchased a freewheel alignment tool, so I highly recommend using this. You can get away without it. You can eyeball it, get it as lined up as you can and get it in there. But whenever you're trying to balance the transmission and move it around and twist and grunt and pull and push, you're going to be really happy every little bit of alignment that you can get, just to make it that much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and place this just to make sure everything's looking good. Now we can go ahead and place this entire clutch in the car. Okay, the clutch is placed on the guide pins here, and one up here you can't see, which leaves the 6 bolts, the holes for the 6 bolts exposed. And with any luck, you've left them somewhere you can reach them without having to crawl back out from under the car. Okay, I checked the torque spec for these bolts. Apparently it's 28 Newton meters, about 21 foot-pounds. That's what I'm going to use. Speaking of subframe, at any rate, here's the new and the old. You can see identical. The reason I'm replacing this one is you really can't hear it, but it was making enough noise it was obvious from outside, and if it's that noisy now, it's not going to be long before it's getting downright abusively loud. So out she comes. It's much easier to do this while I get everything apart anyway. So, all right, again, we're going to pull the pin, hook it, but we are making progress here, folks. I'm just going to turn that one down a little bit. And then I'm going to try to place number 3, which goes right back there. Okay, the 2 hard ones are tight. Just going to tighten up the bottom one here. It's just a long, fiddly process, folks. It's not impossible. It's difficult. It takes a lot of manual dexterity, I'll be honest. You gotta be good at twisting wrenches, and but if so, you'll get it on. It'll take a lot longer than you expected it would, but it's not that big a deal. And got a couple of new supports, and we're gonna throw them in and see how they work. Okay, and to get the old ones off, there's a little spring clip that goes over the ball socket to hold it on each end, and all you have to do is get under the clip and it pops the old one right off. And this is where you take the old and the new and you put them side by side, and lo and behold, hey, they are the same length. So with any luck, the new ones will just pop over the mounting spots. There you go. There's one. And sometimes the seat's just so dirty, you have to take extraordinary measures. Well, that puts me 99 cents closer. Amazing what you find in a used project car. Okay, the next phase of this operation is to show some love to these poor, dirty, nasty looking seats. They've suffered along with the rest of the car and are in a dire need of some attention. So, to that end, in keeping with the budget concept of this car, a couple items here I picked up at the local dollar store, which is now, of course, is $1.25, but some general purpose cleaner,
a few cans of carpet and interior cleaner, and well, that already had. So had to go down and break down and buy a actual real life shop vac to replace the one that broke a few years ago. So I've got my own, guys.
And just for a little more serious deep cleaning, I'm going to use something more than just a spray and wipe application of water. That's a 10,000% improvement, folks. That actually looks like a pretty decent rear seat that's not going to embarrass myself to put somebody in it. So good job. Now just got all that to go. But folks, if you look at this seat, when you could do this to the dirt that's on the seat, you got a problem. This car was just beyond words. I hope it's coming through all right, but there's no way in the world I'm sitting in this thing to drive it anywhere. So let's get it cleaned up. Okay, I have vacuumed it to get the worst of the grunge off, and now I'm just going to take it one section at a time and scrub in the soap. And you can see the dirt bubbling up already. Any half-decent how-to video, you really want to see a before and after. Pretty dramatic, folks. I got to tell you, the old seat is just so filthy. And there it goes. That's a whole lot easier, folks. There we go. Old bushing is out. And the new one's ready to go in. Let's see. That looks pretty good, actually. So let's see what we got. See if we got it pretty close to square. Oh, yeah. Beautiful job. So there we go. Bushing is in. It's symmetrical. And some engine degreaser. Basically grease dissolving solvent. And then I'm going to power wash it so that when I put it back in, it'll look much, much better. Okay, gonna let it sit for a couple minutes to let the solvent in the degreaser do its job. Okay, here we go. All right. Now, a little acetone and a microfiber cloth to wipe it down. All right, now it's time to start reacquainting the bushings with the control arms. I'm going to put just a little bit of synthetic grease inside the bore and just a tiny smear on the shaft itself to see if I can get it to slide on easily. And again, you want to make sure the hex on the shaft matches the hex in the bushing, and push it on as far as you can, get it started, or get it all the way on. Sometimes that happens. So, okay, we're ready to go there. All right, the end result of all that is just slightly refurbished and better looking subframe with new bushings ready to go back under the car. Which is that this gasket, the seal around the door mirrors, just falls apart. I mean, look, this is an Arizona car, so it's turned what used to be rubber into some sort of tar. It's really nasty. It's got to come off. It's absolutely leaking. I had the door panel off, and I did see indications that there's water has been running down the inside, so that's got to be replaced. Let's go ahead and, using a sharp razor knife, being careful since it's in my lap, I'm going to cut around the base. Okay, that's pretty much got it. You can see as I'm putting this on that the hole in the new gasket is bigger than the one in the old gasket, so this is going to slide down, and it's going to make sure you get these pins started in these slots. That'll help guide them down, hold them in place. But we're actually we're pretty much there. The clearly this backside has to come down just a little bit, so push it down. Okay, we're pretty much in place all the way around. Now we're going to go try to carefully place it on the car, get it pressed down, and if we've done this right, the pressure when I bolt it down will hold it all together. Alright, so plug the plug back in. Make sure you get that satisfying click. You got those locating pins that will hold it in place while you retrieve your bolts and get them started. All right, I think that looks just fine. So there you go, folks. That's a major improvement. Looks better. Most importantly, it will not be leaking water down the inside of the door anymore. And this is an all too common occurrence on the Mini Coopers. This is a plastic, hard, brittle plastic grille cover. It's right about where your feet enter and exit the cockpit. So therefore, they get crunched. Now, as a matter of fact, you can't hardly tell. Yeah, that one is definitely crunched as well. So it's definitely time to replace them. And to do that, I can either go online and go to the Mini dealer and spend a fortune. You won't believe what these things cost to get new ones. Or I can try to cobble something together. Or I can use my favorite option and go to the boneyard and see if I can spot a couple more. Let's go. And sometimes when you're trying to put together a budget car, you got to go to extreme measures. In this case, 4 miles from my house is a junkyard that's got a few minis. Luckily, it's got a couple R56s, pretty well worked over. The trick is to pry off this entire outer section just to get to the speaker grill, which is all I really need. Okay, it's a little convoluted, but this speaker grill is held in with 6 heat-staked plastic tabs that have been melted down into the base here, you can see. So the only way to really get them out, if I would have thought about it a bit more, I would have brought a battery-powered grinder and just ground these off and would have had it out in just almost no time. But as it is, what I'm going to have to do is just use a screwdriver as a chisel to get under the tab and lift it up enough to just work it out so that it snaps off. Okay, and once you get it out, you get the little tab out, and then that one is loose, and just rinse and repeat 5 more times. Okay, and now that it's out, you can see corresponding, that tab actually survived. Now you can see that there are screw holes that can be rotated into position to install this using screws, and these can be ground off. So now I have good speaker grills to put on my little project car. Okay, there's the locating tab. I'm going to put it in place. You can see that there are places for screws to be put through from the back to hold the speaker grill in place. How cool is that? Now I just have to find some screws. Okay, there you go. I'll tell you what, I'm kind of liking it. I don't think it looks bad at all. In fact, it looks kind of custom. I think that's it. Yeah, it's custom. And I gotta tell you folks, that is just a huge improvement. I mean, whenever you look at the difference in this door panel before and after, that's night and day. It's not perfect, this being a $2,000 project car, but still, that's for $6. You're not gonna make a better improvement than that. Now all I have to do is the other side. Get this stupid valve cover off. All right, now the valve cover is off. We can start taking a look around. You want to look at things like the timing chain tensioner. Just make sure you don't see any issues there. That's not something you want to have a problem with. Make sure the timing chain is nice and tight. There's no looseness anywhere apparent. You're looking for any issues with valve springs.
If you notice, there really isn't a hatch button cover anymore involved in this particular vehicle. You can still push the button here and release it. It's available. A new cover, so let's get this one on. I've never seen it done, but I'm just about to figure it out. Okay. Well, it's coming off. It's just an ugly process, to be honest. It's going to take a while to clear all the old plastic off of the mechanism and get it freed up to the point where the new one will slide on. So I won't make you watch all that. It'll be boring. How do we get this in here? So let's go ahead and see if we can push it into place. Alright, that's better. Now let's install it. Okay, now with the rubber in place, the next trick is I would plug in the connector. Make sure your plug is fully seated. Test the operation of the tailgate a few times, and you're ready to get this thing installed. So now flip it around, push it in, and start putting the screws in one at a time. And don't tighten any of them down until you get them all inserted. Well, I gotta tell you, that is the easiest strut I've ever removed in my life. A couple cables, couple bolts, the sway bar connector, out she pops. Alright, some Bilstein B4s going up front to replace those poor old worn out things. Some rain mounts with actual lube in them. I'm going to reuse some of the hardware from this one just because it's just hardware. So I'm going to clean it up as I go and reassemble it over here. Okay, not show car, but plenty good. That's going to go back in now. You can see the gasket is entirely shot. That allows water to no doubt run down inside this gap. Probably going to cause problems if it hasn't already. So let's get this thing fixed. Okay, now time to place the gasket over the base, and it's going to be a little bit stretchy and fiddly. Alright folks, and there it is in all its fully sealed, fully secured, new style antenna glory. It's a junkyard that happened to have two fresh arrivals. I was able to find a hood. It's an S hood minus the scoop, but it's the right color and it's straight. Okay, next step is to carefully fit. Make sure your pins are all lining up. And the real eagle-eyed among you may have realized that this gap was a little narrower than that gap over there. That's easily corrected, folks. This is the adjuster right here. All you have to do is turn this up a little bit to get a little more. It keeps the hood up just a tiny bit higher. So let's go ahead and close it. And now that gap and that gap look pretty much identical. All right, that'll work. That's all it takes, folks. So we are aligned. The hood's not perfectly clean yet, but wow, what an improvement. And a drive of about 40 miles took us to a backyard with lots of mini parts, including a good windshield with a rain sensor. So next challenge is to get it out in one piece.
Okay, first step, get the old bad nasty windshield out. We're going to have to take these pieces of trim off the pillars. We're going to have to take the windshield wipers off. Going to have to take this trim out of the way. Push through and then leverage it up. So now I'm just going to let it set up for a bit before I get too carried away. I'm going to go ahead and put the cowling and the windshield wipers back in place because I can do that without disturbing anything else. And through the magic of video, it's now tomorrow and it's time to take the tape off. And this is the end result of all that hard work, folks. It's a panoramic, crack-free, spot-free, scratch-free view out the front of my Mini. Life is good. And so what did this whole project set me back? Let's recap. I purchased the vehicle for $900. Cost me $120 to flatbed it home. New clutch kit, $124. Rear main seal, $44. Transmission fluid, $41. New struts and mounts, $234. New rear tires plus mounting, $174. New valve cover gasket and plugs, $42. Front lower control arm bushings, $51. An antenna mount and new gasket for the rear antenna, $38. That new hood and hood scoop and the mounting kit for the scoop, $140. The windshield and supplies, adhesives, $77. Water pump drive pulley, $49. Lower radiator hose, $43. Shift lever boot and ring, $56. Armrest lid and repainting, $21. Right front seat belt, $49. Oil filler cap, $12. Speaker grills, $8. Tailgate button cover, $9. Cigarette lighter plug, $13. Then there's all the miscellaneous junkyard parts, including the front lower grille trim, fender liner hardware, rear hatch seal, washer reservoir cap, and the rear cigarette lighter plug lock ring, not to mention the driver's visor. And, of course, the paint to paint the rear bumper. So all in all, we went a little over budget. As is often the case, there are just a lot of little items that creep up and just inch the project along dollar-wise, but we ended up spending a total of $2,331 for this car. Now I gotta tell you folks, that's a pretty good deal. It's got essentially new tires, new clutch, new rear main seal, new struts, new mounts, new suspension bushings, plus all the other items that I just listed. This is a car that will be fun to drive for 50, 60, 80, maybe 100,000 miles, and for a chump change. And of course, I couldn't really let it go at that, but I had to do some mods. I replaced the speakers, which were pretty minimal, to be honest, with some much better speakers. That set me back a total of $71. Okay, $76 got me some very high power LED lights for my headlights, high-low beams, for a much better driving experience. And $106 got me the driving lights to replace the marker lights, as well as some very high power LED bulbs to replace the halogens, plus a wiring harness which I use to tie into the high beams. So now when I need light, I've got it. And that took the grand total for the entire car and modifications to $25.84. But gotta tell you folks, this is a car I'll be proud to drive for years to come. What a deal.